Hey folks, today we're going to take a look at a game that is currently seeking funding on Kickstarter. That game is called Burning Bridges and is from Start Something Studios. Now, if you like what you see throughout the rest of this preview video, I'm going to encourage you to go to the official Kickstarter project page to find out more information than I could possibly tell you here. To do that, you're going to follow the link in the top corner of your screen, as well as down in the description section underneath this video. Those links will take you to the page. You can find out more information, and hopefully you will consider backing the project. Now, Burning Bridges is a game, a party game for a bunch of your friends, hopefully your friends, where you are trying to find the sickest burn, the insult to use against your friends. It could be a question, it could be a description, but actually how you use that is a little more complicated than you might think, because what you're going to do is draw one of those cards, give it to another person at the table, and that person is going to be forced, without revealing the card, to point at another person they think that question or description applies to. And it could be incredibly insulting to that third person. So then a battle ensues between the original card giver and the person the card was given to try and see if the card is revealed or not. Because if it's revealed, that could be pretty bad for the person who had to point at that other person, because it could be really embarrassing. It's usually insulting and of an R-rated or X-rated nature. But more importantly, if you're trying to win the game, which maybe you don't care, maybe you do, you want to try and claim that card by winning the battle as a bridge part. And the first person to get the 7 bridge parts will win the game. Let me go ahead and give you a brief look at a prototype copy of the game and run you through all those rules again. And just do bear in mind that what you see here in that prototype copy may be different than what the final version looks like. Some things might be the same, some things might be different. That's why it's important to go to the Kickstarter page to find out more information. But then in any event, we will come back and discuss it further. Burning Bridges is a competitive party game for 5 to 12 friends. Players will use question cards with hilariously offensive descriptions to put one of their friends in the unenviable position of calling out a third friend, but this might just backfire. Outguess your opponents and you may be able to take those question cards as bridge parts, which are victory points. When someone gets 7 of those bridge parts, they immediately win the game. To set up the game, first shuffle a large deck of question cards and leave it within reach of all players. Each card is either a question or a descriptor of someone's life, personality, habits, hygiene, etc. If you're reading the card, it won't be you it describes, but rather someone else at the table. The text is usually quite harsh and R-rated and not to be taken too seriously, especially if you're playing with acquaintances rather than friends. But remember, these are also potentially the bridge parts that you need to win the game. Somewhere near the question deck, also in reach of everyone, place 2 sets of fire, water, gasoline cards. These will be used during the game for people to battle as an analog to rock, paper, scissors. Fire beats gasoline, water beats fire, gasoline beats water. Next in the setup, give each player a set of 3 lifeline cards. These are defensive cards you can use when an outcome turns bad for you. We'll get back to these once I explain the game a little bit more. Finally, choose someone at random, or perhaps the kindest person at the table, to go first, and then begin the game. Turns go in clockwise order until one person has won the game. Each turn, the active player will draw a question and read it silently, not revealing it to the other players. We'll call this person Player A for our example. Player A gives that card to another player, like let's say Player D. Player D will also read the card silently and, without giving any indication of what the card might say, points to another player who they think the card describes. We'll call that person Player B. Now, a battle ensues. Both the original card giver, Player A, and the person who received the card, Player D, engage in a battle with the 2 sets of fire, water, gasoline cards. Both players take the 3 cards to hand, choose one, and then simultaneously reveal it. If Player A, the card giver, loses, the question card used for the round will not be revealed, and in fact, Player D, who received the card originally, will now keep it face down as a bridge part. But if Player A won, not only do they get the question card as a bridge part, the card is also revealed and read aloud, which might be a harsh revelation about what Player D thinks of Player B. Remember that each player has a set of lifeline cards. Each one can only be used once. The Ask Me Something Else card can be played by player D in that example when they receive a card that is just too offensive for them and they don't want to risk pointing at another player with it. They instead discard it to the bottom of the deck and draw another one to replace it with the hopes that it's better. The You Can't Handle the Truth card is also played by a player D, but they play it after they've already lost a fire, water, gasoline battle. The winning player A will still take the card as a bridge part, but they are not allowed to reveal it or read it aloud. Player B is safe from the revelation. And finally, the DeForce card is played by the active player A when they lose a battle to force the question card to be revealed anyways. This card can't be used if a You Can't Handle the Truth card was played, but a Truth card can cancel the effects of DeForce. When a battle is fully resolved and someone has taken the card, play passes to the next person in order and the game continues until someone gets their 7 bridge parts and wins the game. Also, there is a drinking variant of the game where bridge parts are irrelevant and lifeline cards don't exist, and instead players must take shots to use the lifeline effects. But however you choose to play it, that is Burning Bridges. Well, there's a couple of things that are very interesting about Burning Bridges. The most obvious one, of course, is the entire central theme and purpose of the game, which, if you're playing with your friends, then they're hopefully not going to take it too seriously, because there are a lot of very insulting cards here. But you want a little bit of awkwardness, right? You want there to be a little bit of tension, because that makes it more fun in the end, assuming everyone has some good humor about it. But what I found more interesting about it was the actual interplay between the players, because I think it would have been easy for the developers to just do the sort of what I call the party card game cop-out of just having there be a judge and saying, hey everyone, vote to see who this card applies to type of thing, which is just the easy way out when you really don't want to put a lot of effort into designing the game. No, instead, they made a very clever sort of interaction between the players where it sounds complicated at first, but in actual gameplay, when you actually do it, it's very intuitive. You draw the card, then give it to the person whose life you kind of want to make complicated for the next 5 minutes, and that person has to read it silently and then decide who it applies to. And they have to choose someone. They don't have a choice in that matter, which makes things very awkward. But this is also how you win the game, right? So now, and then it goes to that sort of rock, paper, it basically is rock, paper, scissors, but fire, water, gasoline, to try and determine whether that card is revealed and who gets to keep that card as a victory point of sorts, a bridge part. So that's very interesting how that all works out. And it's also interesting that you have a way to mitigate that with the lifeline cards, which, again, there's a lot of these things that aren't overly complicated systems, but a lot of party card games don't even bother to put that in there. They don't even bother to put that little bit of game design in there. But this one is interesting because of that interplay between the players and because of those lifeline cards that you have to use very wisely over time. Maybe, if you've lost a battle and you really don't want the card to be revealed, but maybe this isn't so bad, you save that for a later round when you could have something really bad that might have to be revealed about that third player. That's up to you, but at least that is decision-making that you can make in the game. But even as I'm saying that, though, to make it clear, it is a party game. It is one that goes very quickly. It is meant to be taken with a good sense of humor. You can play it as a drinking game if you want to, and certainly that can enhance the experience if you're of age and if you're responsible about it. So, clever card text and a general theme that's different than a lot of the other party card games out there, as well as those clever mechanics that give you more decision-making in the game than you would normally have in this type of thing. All of that combined together with the potential for tons of expansive content we put in, more game modes potentially as time goes on, things like that. The sky could be potentially the limit here. So, if you are interested, if your group need another light card game to use to either round out the night or maybe to get things warmed up at the beginning of the night, going out to a bar and need something a little bit different than the typical party card games that you see out there on the market, this could be a nice alternative for you. It is certainly something different and one of the most unique party card games I've seen in quite a while. But hey, listen, you don't need to take my word for it. you can go to the official Kickstarter project page and find out even more information than I could have possibly told you here. Do that by following the link in the top corner of your screen, as well as down in the description section underneath this video. That is Burning Bridges from Start Something Studios. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, for supporting our sponsors. Take care.